Now, Elizabeth.
Yes.
When it comes to consoling a heartbroken friend, what's your support style?
I don't know.
Fire and brimstone and honesty, or do you cuddle and...
If the person's been an absolute fuckwit, I'm like, fuck him, good luck, you're better off. Let's, anger is productive.
Yes.
But I guess if it's, if they're heartbroken, I guess I try and figure out what they need from me at that moment. So if they need me to be like, yes, you made the right decision, I'm that kind of cheerleader. If they need me to go, I'm so sorry, here's some ice cream, you're amazing. I think you got to judge it by the person, right?
Right. Yeah, so that would be a little coddling then, wouldn't you say, if you're telling them what they want to hear?
Honestly, if they're in a heartbroken state, I think that's what people need, right?
It's so hard to rouse someone out of that slumber.
I think a couple of weeks later, once they've had time to deal with it, then you can be like, all right, pick your fucking self up. That person was garbage and you're better than this.
Yes.
But I think in that immediate moment post breakup, you've got to figure out what they need from you in order to make them sleep, eat, act like a human being.
Yes, do those basic human being things. I like a fair but firm approach.
Yeah.
Where you're fair about if they're talking about the relationship and the good time, you're sort of like, yep, fair enough. But then you're firm with getting them on track. And no, you're not. Why would you message them? No.
Oh no, 100%. I will be confiscating their fucking phone regardless of which tack I take.
So it is an interesting blend of sort of there, hush now, and no.
Yes.
Bad.
I want to post this in the group, like what's your comforting style? So I'm going to make myself a little note to post this in our Ghosts of Boyfriends Past group therapy group.
Yes, and we'll make that a little advert for the rest of you to pop along to Facebook to jump onto our Ghosts of Boyfriends Past group therapy group to meet like-minded people in love and romance, and to get early access to these questions and your own inputs and thoughts from others.
Yeah.
Very good.
Handy.
Hello one, hello all to Ghosts of Boyfriends Past. My name is Tom Harrison. Across from me is Elizabeth Best.
Hello.
And you join us on a main episode of our show where we get a guest on to hear their story about love, romance, dating, marriages, whatever gone by. Now, you may think that we're here to have a laugh and a giggle, and totally that's part of it, but we try and learn as well, Liz. Isn't that the main...
I think that's the most important thing, even when we're laughing or we're crying or whatever we're doing on a particular episode. The point is to figure out what we learned, both as listeners of the story and as the storyteller.
Yeah, that's right. So that's the mission brief of Ghosts of Boyfriends Past. And that brings us to our guest. Now, I'm excited today because our guest today is a very good friend of mine and writing partner, but he doesn't know podcast Tom. He only knows real life Tom.
Ah.
So it's nice to introduce myself and our lovely readers to Matty.
Yeah, so the big mustache is a very big surprise.
Yes,
He's got his broadcast mustache that he sticks on before every show.
I'm a completely different person. Hello, Matthew. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm swell even.
He's swell. Oh,
he's always swell and chipper.
Yes, he is our very own good boy, is Matthew.
And this mask is firmly on.
And a long-time reader of the show, so it's good to
Indeed.
have you. Good to have you on, my friend.
Yeah, it's swell to be here. I gotta stop saying that word.
No, you don't.
No, it's gonna.
Sometimes when you get behind the microphone, you say a word, and then all of a sudden it's the only word that you can think of for the entire episode.
100%.
Name of the episode, just swell in caps.
Matty and swell.
Now, as a long-time reader of the show, I wonder if you could remind us of the rules. We've never had a guest.
You're gonna make the guest tell us the rules.
I'm not making, but I have a different relationship with this man where I feel like I can bully him more and get away with it. Not
Good
bully,
to know.
but
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Cool. A chipper pop quiz, if you will.
Yes.
Here we go. So, number one.
Yes.
Pseudonyms.
Yes, pseudonyms.
Well done.
Super important.
Mm-hmm. And on that point, no investigators, no sleuths.
Yes, that's right. If you figure out who Matthew's talking about, you've pierced through his alibi, his fake names provided for these people. No sharing of phone numbers,
It's not
emails.
what we're about.
No.
We're about learning lessons. We're not about exposing anybody or having a go at anybody, which brings us to our third rule.
No attacking
Threats would
That's
be
the word.
No
That's
threats
the word.
on mic.
On microphone, please. So when that computer over there stops recording, go absolutely ham. We do, but on air, nice and civil, please. So that's the premise of the show. That's our guest, and Matthew's here. He's going to take us down the garden path of romance gone by.
Yeah, tell a bit of a tale, if you will.
I'm kind of excited because this is the first episode in a while that I haven't been briefed on, that I have no idea what's coming.
Yeah, so
get ready for me to make a lot of "fuck that" comments and bits and bobs.
Yeah,
because
it was interesting.
Yeah.
Because I, was sat down to write this.
Yeah.
And yes, good move. I sat down to write this, and I just found like I really couldn't.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was
because
a lot there.
initially we were going to have Matty write in, and to my surprise, when I texted Tom to say, okay, so we're sorted, he's like, oh no, Matty's coming in. I was like, oh, well done you, because like it's difficult. I've got to say, like a lot of people who come on, it's not all like, yeah, let's be famous and put ourselves on a microphone. It's tough to tell your own tales, and I, for one, think I commend you for being here, for fronting up, for doing the thing, and we appreciate you.
Each and every guest that comes on this show, they could be sharing a story which is hilarious at their expense, but they still have to get up and share that happened to them. So it's brave for anyone to do it. So in your own time, Matthew, piece it together. We'll cobble it along, and we'll tie it up with a bow at the end. He is a writer by trade, everybody. So the inner writer in this man is going, how do I express this story in a proper arc and interesting? Just get it to start and get it out.
In the back of my mind, just tell it like a normal person would.
Yeah. That's what I say every time I try to write something. How would a normal person say this?
This is impossible. It's also, me being a writer also explains why I completely missed writing this deadline.
Yes. Yep.
All right. Here we go, old Matty. Just like a normal person.
Yeah.
It all started when I was 2. There I was, a little tyke in front of the television, and my parents thought it fitting to show this child how the world works, an introduction to the greatness of art and wonder and philosophy that we can present to ourselves.
I should have got a snack, Liz.
Yeah, it's like, we've got a time limit on this episode, right?
6 hours, I hope. A Ken Burns documentary about me. Old Matty.
He's a writer, folks, but not an editor.
No. But on that point, I got brought up on old films.
Yes.
That's why I'm so about old Hollywood.
Why he says swell such a lot.
All that jazz. But the first thing I ever remember watching was Pirates of Penzance.
Right.
So my introduction to like love and romance was high romantic.
Oh, wow.
Big gestures, sing your heart out, all honesty.
Okay.
Bound, like you find the one and you're like utterly devoted and you do the thing. And going through life, I watched a lot of movies. I had like a movie a day at one point, which was pretty awesome. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
But I got into a bad habit of watching these things and kind of having this inner mind of self-inserting and thinking, this guy's botching this relationship. I know exactly what to say to keep this going swell. Like this would be smooth sailing if I was in this situation. This guy's a chump. And I had that kind of self-righteous bravado for a long time.
And I'd like to commend you for acknowledging that and for recognizing that. I don't think there's enough self-reflection in society, and not enough people are going, yeah, I was a little bit of an asshole from years to.
Hey, he didn't say he was an asshole.
No. This is my own self-reflection.
Yes.
But on that point, going through, like, say, if I was consoling a heartbroken friend, I become the Riddler. Because it's all questions with me and trying to dig about the why and the what they want next and what.
That's the writer in you.
It's just
motivations.
Trying to dig.
Yeah.
And there's this weird drive for people to like have epiphanies in front of me so then I can remember it and like I will remember this scene later. And so when it came to high school and such, like my parents were very not pressure at all about dating. Quite the opposite, in fact. That not strict, but they just like didn't really want to even acknowledge that would be a thing that I would want to go through.
Yeah.
And that was for all of your siblings, not
all siblings,
a blanket man.
Blanket, just romance, no pressure here. We're just a family. We're just gonna do our thing. And so when it came to high school, I had this lofty idea of what dating should be like. And in my mind, it's like you your own place. You needed transport. You needed to be able to take people out on good dates and experiences.
Right.
And
Kind of the practicalities of dating, right?
Yes.
And on a surface level, yeah, gotcha.
so the idea of buying into a relationship while in high school just seemed literally absurd to me.
You were like end game from the start,
Yeah.
right? Like none of this trying it out and seeing what it's like. You're like, no, I'm not ready. I need to have all this end game stuff because when I do it, it's going to be right and it's going to be the one straight off the bat.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Shit,
It
that's
was-
a lot of pressure.
It was. So I went through all of high school, like, crushes here and there,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
just like no drive to pursue any of it. And then got to uni and still felt like was still living at home and just studying. But at that point, I had just left an old boys' school and I was surrounded by beautiful women.
Women all of a
All
sudden.
of a sudden, yes.
And not only that, but I was at Kelvin Grove studying film. And so they were all creative and cool and smart and witty. And I was like, okay, Matty.
They're all manic pixie dream girls.
Which works because I'm a manic pixie dream boy. Yeah, I was described as that recently and it's blown my mind.
You're carrying it with you, evidently. So, yeah, yes, you went to university and all the delightful wonders held
Indeed.
within.
It's like a satellite going into space for the first time. It's like, look at all these stars. But then, me being me, I was like, now, Matty, this film is a cooperative business. You got 3 years, and in the third year, you have to make a grad film and work with your cohort to make your film. You don't want to have like left some landmines for you and from first year and third year with people who won't work with you again because dating went wrong. So I went into uni
Right.
with one rule: no dating within my course,
Okay.
which was a good, solid rule, and I stand by it.
Look, I am a firm believer as someone who's dated a coworker in the don't shit where you eat policy. Absolutely.
But as a result, I didn't really talk to anyone outside of my course. So like I had a swell time through uni and I wasn't like frustrated or anything like that. But I about like halfway through second year when I was getting a bit more like not anxious to date, but interested in the idea of it. It's like, oh, maybe it is possible to date without all of the practical kind of prerequisites I had set for myself.
It definitely is. As someone who
Yes.
dated well before I had I still don't have my own place. So if I was waiting for that to date somebody, like, oh, we're in trouble.
Precisely. So I was starting to like get a bit more lenient on that front. But I was like, okay, I'm not talking to anyone outside of this degree. And during the degree, but the benefit of this system was that I was talking to literally everyone with no expectation or nervousness or any kind of like, when you're with your crush and you get all tongue tied and
Or
Yeah.
you overcompensate, or you just come
Yeah.
out not yourself.
Yeah,
Something
exactly.
changes, it's weird, and you know it's weird because it's happening to you in real time, and you just want to say, "I'm not like this normally." Yeah,
I don't know what's happening. No, so that never happened. Thankfully, I made a lot of friends just by being myself because I didn't have this expectation or drive going on. But as a result, I also, not to bloody brag, had a few crushes on a little old Matty.
Oh, cute.
It's like, oh, and I actively tried to diffuse them. Get them out.
You're like, oh no, I'm too desirable. What have I done?
so rather have some poor thing having unrequited feelings for you.
I didn't like do anything. Like I didn't like present myself wrong or anything, but I just kind of like set firm boundaries and
Hey,
sometimes just was open about my rule. And that worked out. And I would feel like really good when they would move on.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like, job done.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
And yeah, it's like, they're happy. I can still be their friend. No one's hurt. Jolly good.
Great.
Onwards to filmmaking, because I had a step-by-step plan to be
Right.
like the greatest filmmaker ever.
Yes.
Which I immediately tossed out of the window as soon as uni finished. But in the first year, we meet Gwen.
Okay.
Now, Gwen quite clearly immediately has a crush on me. Mm-hmm. And Gwen's cool, and I get along with Gwen, but there's not that fire that I expected.
Yes, that spark or whatever description.
What I
you want
like to call
use.
the movie magic of romance
yes,
that
the movie
doesn't
magic.
always exist.
Doesn't always exist, but I do, because of my journey, I do really believe in it. in a way.
Of course.
And it kind of goes in, like, I really enjoyed your talks about that subconscious, like that instinct, especially that women have when something's wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that's really us just, the brain is so smart and the subconscious is so powerful. It's why, like, I never finish writing on everything I've wanted to write that day. I finish on like just before that point so that my subconscious can go off from the last little bit left
And marinate on that.
and work for me for the next day. And that instinct, I think, really just comes from reading subconscious cues, and that's why we get that feeling in the gut. And this whole journey really taught me to trust my gut, because in that first year, I knew Gwen was cool, smart, but she wasn't for me. She was not a right fit because I didn't have that movie magic gut feeling.
Right.
Were you in this first year? Would you call yourself friends? Were you acquaintances? Where were you on the sort of closeness scale?
Started off as acquaintances, like, you know, in O week, you know, talking out front of lectures and stuff, and just. But we became friends. Like, got invited to a birthday party, and I met her friends. And but it was also when I started to realize, Gwen has a crush on me, as I suspected, but coming from an old boys school, and like I was going to swimming clubs once a week, so I was interacting with women and girls my age from like my primary school and stuff on the reg. But just going from the old boys school, the idea of like immediately going to uni and like in the first week, assuming someone had a crush on me, felt like hubris.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, this isn't.
But it got confirmed after a birthday party, because one of her like friends at that party was like, Matty, I don't know if you know this, but Gwen has a massive crush on you. And I was so annoyed about that, because it's like, now it's like on record that I know. I've been playing it cool and trying to figure out how to like...
You had plausible deniability.
Exactly. I was robbed. So kept my distance and kind of set my boundaries. And then later that year, Gwen got a boyfriend. And I was like, yes. And Gwen was a sound engineer, a very good sound engineer. And so Gwen is like a unicorn in the film business. Like by the end of third year, there were only like 3 sound engineers in total.
Right.
And there's like 10 grad films that need to be made. And I was now becoming really good friends with one of them, which I was super stoked about.
Great.
Both as a mercenary producer, but also just as a fella.
Yeah.
She is swell. So I'll just take a pause here. I'm not sure.
So Gwen ends up with a boyfriend, and you don't get any sense of jealousy or anything like that. You're more relieved. You're like, great, she had a crush on me. I didn't need that. That's gone out of my way now. Excellent. Do they stay together for a while? Where'd we go?
I think that's a very good way to put it. I didn't need that. So you're right. No jealousy at all. It just felt like, okay, back to the plan. And that relationship went steady for a couple of years. Yeah, so I didn't need that. So we went back to the plan. And that relationship went steady for a couple of years. And then it ended. And I like helped her through that and asked all my riddles and questions to see how she could grow from it, and like see how she could grow from some of the questionable decisions she made, but also was focusing on like acknowledging that those decisions didn't define who she was. And that
so you're being a good friend and kind of basically going, okay, so how do we move on from this? How do you not blame yourself? You don't want to be the judgy friend if you think someone's made questionable decisions, but you want them to try and grow from that.
Exactly. It's something I very, very passionate about, that I always try to understand rather than judge. And after that rapport and that connection got quite deep and affectionate. Like, no, it wasn't romantic or anything, but we did get like closer as friends.
You have another understanding with somebody, I think, when you go through a particularly so a situation where someone else is particularly vulnerable and you're helping them through that situation. It kind of takes a friendship to a really deep level, I think.
Yeah, nearly a shared grief or shared experience. It's close to
Yeah.
that, so you do have an understanding. Okay, so you get a bit closer.
Yeah, it feels like a good level of trust there. We're doing our grad films. It's third year now. Don't worry, readers. I've skipped ahead a bit. And we've finished. It's now the graduation after party.
Yep.
And we've had we're a bit loose with the giggle water.
And like now that we're graduating, like the rule
That's
does
right.
not
Yes.
apply.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, I'll admit I don't have my scroll yet, so it's not quite above water. But, all of the assessment
Assessment's in.
is done.
Yep.
We're out of the woods. And so at this party, we have a cheeky hookup.
Okay,
And
yep.
it happens very fluidly. I approached her, kissed her on the cheek. She didn't quite know what happened, but was like, whoa, all right.
Okay,
And
cool.
yeah.
Which can be a bit of a surprise, especially if you've put somebody in the crush category and then firmly put them in the we're really good friends now. To change that boundary back again can be quite a surprise.
It was quite
like,
stark.
A good surprise?
A good surprise.
Yeah.
Like there was like a runway. There was a
Yeah.
There was like a bit of like a. You know how planes like do that whole like journey through the airport before they
take
get onto
off.
the right.
Yeah.
It's like that whole
We
thing.
moved away from the terminal at the same time.
But it sounds to me you guys got hooked up from building natural compassion and trust and sharing, and so it grew out of a kind of a good place.
Yes.
So that's good.
And it was interesting because we also had that shared experience of university.
Yes.
Like coming out of that same environment, knowing the same people and going to like the same like uni parties and such. And I was like a menace for my big plan back then and my ambition. So her being like crew, like sound engineering, and then me being my above the line madman, there was no like rivalry or competitiveness, which I wouldn't have now, but back then I definitely would have. I was insane. I am still, but just more channeled.
Yes, that's right.
And so then we just saw each other like casually for 6 months, no communication, just like, what is this? I don't know. I stistill felt
Let's
awkward.
keep kissing.
Yeah. It's like, so it's like she would come and hang out at my like home where like I still live with my folks and stuff, and still was not quite defined whether it was like, is this a dating hangout or are we just like hanging out with friends? But it was almost like 50 first dates, like keep meeting up for the first time and then building up to a romantic level over and over until finally I still didn't feel the spark.
Right.
And I just didn't have that gut feeling. And so I called it around the 6 months mark. I was like, I think the spark's important. You're awesome, but I'm going to go on my merry way because I think I didn't go too profound into it, but I'll go back to why I thought the spark wasn't there. But it just didn't seem like we were a right fit. And but it was a bit too ambiguous and loose. And I walked away and feeling like that was the right decision, but still like more hurt than I expected. And then a week goes by and we still text. I can't remember if like we just wanted to be friends again. I think so.
Well,
it was an
you'd had a
effort.
foundation of friendship, so sometimes if you've had a foundation of friendship, it's easy to go back to that.
Yeah. So it was a good effort to start texting, to start being friends. And as a result of that, with the pressure of like the confusion off, the rapport was lightning. Just really, really fun and strong. Did that when Harry Met Sally thing where you watch a movie and you start at the same time and have a call going.
Yeah, nice.
So that and
it's cute.
that was all
Very film geek, cute.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You got me.
He's like, that's my whole brand.
And I was still invited to her birthday party. These birthday parties are a weird, like, thematic
Through
through
line.
line.
You're thinking about this in scenes, aren't you? Like
Yeah,
a movie.
that's
Yeah. So, next scene.
Same time next year.
Yeah. So I go to this birthday party and I've like made the resolution that it's like I want to ask her to like properly date me this time.
Right.
Right.
I've
So
gotten
you
this.
feel
I've
that-
built feelings and
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
and it's like it's all seemed to be following a very nice script.
Yeah.
So what's the time frame between going, I don't think there's a spark here, to going, hang on, Sparks abound.
About a week and a half.
That's not a long soul searching, Matthew.
No, it isn't. And in hindsight, I probably should have stuck with my gut. I don't regret anything because I learned a lot through all of this and still got a lot of happy experiences.
Excellent. So lessons learned segment on this show will be wonderful.
Lessons
at the
all
end.
the way, old buddy.
Great. So something in you wants to pursue this.
Yes.
And you do.
And I do. And the birthday party, it goes swell. Yeah, like a movie, cinematic, like very like we messed around. Let's go serious. Yep, we're going steady. And from there, it's like solid honeymoon phase relationship.
Smitten,
the whole bit, seeing each other like most days of the week.
Living in each other's pockets, basically.
Pretty much,
More or
yeah,
less,
yeah.
you can't breathe their oxygen without this other person.
Yeah, strong date idea after date idea. But that's something I will go to. But around like the 4th month, still in this honeymoon phase quite firmly, I felt like I am nailing this. This whole boyfriend thing, that whole...
A+, gold trophy, Oscar goes to for best boyfriend.
So what did you think?
Yeah.
What did you think you were nailing? Just being a boyfriend
Just
in a
being a
relationship?
boyfriend, yeah. Coming up, like saying the right things, comforting the right way.
I'm killing it.
I'm killing it. And that is the wrong approach to bring to a relationship.
Yeah. Both the boys are just seeing me start to shake my head on the other side of the table, being like,
And we're like giggling like, ha ha ha, bravado.
nailing it. Yes, high five. And I'm just like, I can already tell.
It's like, damn fools. And because the big word I said before that I hate, that really was a key word, was script. Mm-hmm. Like I was following the script to say the right things that, you know, even if something deep down bothered me, I didn't really define my own social contracts enough to say, yes, that bothers me. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't give a damn that it might, you know, catapult this relationship to the sun.
So you were on scene 4 months in.
You're playing the character of boyfriend. You're not being Matty.
Exactly. And I was still like being sincere in a lot of ways, but really just icing on the cake. And the cake was mainly just boyfriend.
Yes. And does this, look, we may be getting ahead of myself, but I'm sensing that you may start neglecting any of your own needs.
Oh, yes.
When you're playing this character.
I stopped writing for a bit because I would feel like if I was writing, I'm not on scene to be boyfriend.
Yeah.
Which was kind of reinforced, and it's not a blame thing. This is just, I think, the nature of the relationship that was built.
This happens more often than, like it happens a lot where people kind of get really wrapped up in their relationship and making sure everything's okay by the relationship, that a lot of their own needs kind of just...
Yeah, I can't go to work today. I'm a boyfriend now.
Full-time
I would love to see you, mother, but I'm busy being a boyfriend around town. Right.
My resume is just caps lock
Yes.
boyfriend.
Yes. Okay.
Impressed, sir? I guess you can have the job, okay, Matty?
Yeah.
You've nailed the interview. I don't want it because I'm a boyfriend. No, storm out. So unfortunately, because this dynamic was established, me writing was a problem for Gwen sometimes if she felt like it ate into our time together. Mm-hmm. So me taking that time apart, even if I was like, is it okay today if I spend the day writing? Afterwards, I'd be driving home and it's like this big text saying, I'm upset that you spent the whole day writing.
Right. So you gave up a part of yourself, but also you gave it up more willingly. You had it taken away more willingly. You said, no, I'm a boyfriend now, so you sort of walked away from writing and other things. But also she was saying, hang on, you can't do that on a day with me.
Yeah, when you've set somebody up with no boundaries, then actually putting in boundaries seems like you're taking something away from them.
Yes, that's true.
The script was spotty. It was all over the place.
You need an editor, my friend.
And was it... So you're driving home from one of these days. Were you bothered? Were you upset at the time, or were you bullshitting yourself and rising above it?
I was honestly full of beans about the writing that I had done that day.
Yeah.
But when at the tail end of that, I left and I felt something was wrong, and I was like, oh no. Okay. And then drove.
So how does it develop from here? So does this become a pattern?
That kind of becomes a pattern. It's interesting because a big part of still like the character of boyfriend was of still like Matty, the persona kind of thing. And that persona still includes the writer. So I was still writing, but it was almost, and she was encouraging of it when she could be, when it felt like it didn't need into our time. And I didn't feel that way because I also put a lot of external pressure, projected pressure from her onto myself. So like she worked in a jazz bar and it was dope. And she worked in the basement. She would reserve a seat for me. I wrote a lot of a play in that jazz bar, listening to live jazz.
That's kind of cool.
It was pretty cool. And it was a very...
It's also, again, it's a movie scene. You know this.
Yeah. I do indeed. I mean, yeah, if you flash back to little old Matty at primary school, before he ever had any agenda to date, I would try out the high romance scenes I had seen in these old movies and Gilbert and Sullivan, because I just thought that's what you do when you find someone neat.
You're just the friggin' Ryan Gosling character in La La Land, really, aren't you?
I connected to that movie too
I know
much.
you would have. We've never talked about this before, but I just feel it in my bones.
If you know this man well enough, you just know these things. So, how long? I want to know how long you guys have been together when these stores. I don't know. The feelings are arriving.
Well, see, the thing is, this was never considered a speed bump. So this script went all the way till like 2.5 years until it all started falling apart.
So you're not. So during the 2.5 year time frame, you're not really questioning it, or it hasn't really bubbled yet.
I'm getting frustrated that like I feel guilty when I stop to write or go into the study and stuff, and I'm like constantly pulling myself away to like check, and it goes to like the 4-month period of the honeymoon period. She befriends a bartender, and I always wanted to, and I hold to this, I think everyone should want their partner to have their own life.
Absolutely.
And have their own friends no matter who they are, and I still encourage that. The way I like to imagine ships is nautically, like instead of like all piled onto one ship, it's 2 mighty ships sailing side by side. And it's okay if they go like sail around like different things every now and then, but as long as they stay side by side.
Yeah, not passing in the night.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But alas, this bartender seemed very, we'll call them Mel, seemed very communicative and interested in Gwen. And Gwen, I think for all of my like kind of full-time boyfriending, it felt like it was because I was at its core insincere, even more insincere than I knew, because I was playing this script.
Yes.
That kind of surety, assurance and confidence that this person wants to be with me, and that validation and affection didn't ring true enough. So Gwen didn't want to, but like invited affection from other areas.
Right.
Didn't cheat, but was open to like those deeper connections with other people and stuff. So, going out drinking after shifts and stuff and staying at his place. And I
guess it depends on where you put the cheating line. I don't know. For me, my cheating line has always been if you wouldn't do something with your partner standing right next to you, then it's probably cheating.
And we know that cheating, Matthew, can be more than just P inside V. There is emotional cheating.
Yes,
so
there is.
maybe that's what was going on.
It was what it felt like, and I couldn't get a straight answer about it. Like because I was getting more, I was like, I'm cool. I'm a cool boyfriend. Stick to the script, Matty. I'm cool. I'm such a cool boyfriend. Yeah. And then I was like, okay. And like seeing, like she would like have text from him and then put her phone under a pillow.
Oh no, that breaks my heart. Yep.
And that would be big blocks of text. And it's like, I've never hacked into anyone's phone.
No.
And I never will. But
that kind of behavior, like the texting, I've had an ex who would text, like pick up the phone, see who it was from, and under the table. Text back, and I'm like, I'm sitting right next to you, dude. Like, just because I can't see what you're writing doesn't mean that I can't see that you're trying to hide it.
Yeah, it's a bad vibe.
It's a bad vibe.
Yeah, so
and even though may not be the worst, the fact that they still want to hide something from you feels awful.
Yeah, it just twisted my gut, and I think I was picking up a lot of these subconscious things as well, because I was like, you got no evidence, Matty.
Especially if you'd been friends before and you'd shared this kind of stuff when you were friends, when you've got a foundation of sharing what's going on in your life, and then all of a sudden certain details get left out, it leaves you feeling really uneasy.
Yeah, and I was really losing my mind, and I couldn't stop thinking of the relationship like a house of cards, because this would happen like we'd have like a whole day together, and it was like perfectly cinematic romance. And so I was like, I built my house of cards, and then the next day, crash on his couch, not tell me about like, you know, how the hangout was and stuff, and text every day, and the cards just fell, and it's like,
So you drive yourself crazy going, it's perfect, but
it's
trash.
not. It's perfect, but it's perfect, but I feel like garbage.
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't great at the time as well, because there was no like concrete evidence. And I also am I love a good gallivant on the town. And I do believe that if you trust someone and you can crash on their couch, and that's an easier way to like get your sleep after a gallivant, do so. So there was nothing inherently wrong with her staying on his couch, I think.
No, more so the fact that she felt the need to hide details from you, which makes you like, and she might not have been doing anything wrong, but the fact that she's not telling you full stories after having a pattern of established telling you full stories has got to feel destabilizing.
Yeah. And so the old detective in my brain was going a bit haywire. And so he did the one thing that I'm like forever dishonorable about and ashamed of. I'd given Gwen a journal.
Oh,
yeah, and
Matty.
I knew she wrote in it, and I could not get a straight answer about this, so I read the last entry in the journal.
There we go. That's to you.
That's to me. Yeah.
Yep.
I felt terrible, but I saw a line. It's like, I can never tell Matty what I did.
Now that's quite the gut punch to read, because there's no information, right? There's no information, but it says it tells your brain everything. Never tell what I can't.
And this is like this is a, oh no, that's awful to read, and also, oh no, you did a really shit thing, dude. Matty.
And how do you find this information? But then bring it up in conversation. Yes.
You can't. Speaking as someone who has done the thing, who has picked up the phone and looked at the message. You can't.
So even if you're in the right? You're not the guilty
You're not in the
party.
right once you've gone through somebody's stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I immediately confessed.
Yeah.
Get it over and done with. Yeah.
Yeah. So I immediately confessed, but then was like, but I need to know what this line means for my sanity. This is what I got, and I've got no real reason to doubt this truth. But she spent the night in his bed, but didn't do anything.
Okay.
That was the truth behind that line. And I was like, okay.
See, the problem, not with that, but the problem with being like, I did a shit thing, but here's what I found out, is that you're never going to get the true answer that you want, because you've made it so fucking easy for the other person to turn around and make the fight about you.
Yeah.
Rather than about them.
Yes, that's
and then you
right.
spend the night defending yourself rather than,
Yeah. I mean, maybe I probably should have caught more flack for it, but I got let off the hook a fair bit. Like there was a lot of admission about like.
That's a freebie.
That was a freebie,
That was an absolute freebie.
Yes. So I didn't feel great about that, but we got through, and I thought, okay, we're solid, I guess. Like, I don't know.
Oh, my heart would still be in my butt every single time they were late or, not home when they said they'd be.
And it was.
Yeah.
Yes, you can terrorize yourself with the mental images.
And it was something I think you said, emotional red flags.
Yeah.
I was dismissing them completely because the intellectual intellectually, it was smooth sailing.
On paper, everything was fine.
On paper, everything was fine.
Yeah.
All according to the script.
Tick, 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 tick. We've done this scene. We've done the interior, exterior,
Yeah. And then
none of the subtext though, Matty.
none of the subtext.
Yes.
And I knew it. I felt it. And I straight up ignored it. And I think it's because deep down, going back to that bravado thing, I wanted to win at being a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Losing the relationship meant losing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was a terrible, terrible ethos that I didn't acknowledge at the time. It was just like, my first relationship.
Yeah.
That got like super serious because
because that's what
provoked
the script in the movie says it's meant to be. It's the one from the start, or it's nothing.
Yes, indeed. So 2 years go by. And we're getting, so the bartender, I kind of once it got another freebie of that. Like that never came to any kind of natural boiling point after that because he left town.
That is absolutely a freebie.
So just immediately diffused. Suddenly, all is well again. But from that moment, I think one, because I wasn't held accountable for my breach, and because I was also validated in terms of feeling those suspicions and that distrust in a way. There was just a complete fractured foundation of trust. Like there's nothing there. So all we had was the script.
Yeah.
Suddenly, because anything that could have been discovered underneath it, gone.
Yeah.
But the 2 years that kind of go as they should, beat for beat. You know, move into. I was living in a hole for a year.
Yes, I remember the hole. The hole.
We loved the hole.
No, we didn't love the hole at all.
One of the floors sloped downward, so you could
wake up in the kitchen. Yeah.
Wow.
Dickensian cold in the morning next to a laundromat. As soon as I left, after the landlord demanded a bond clean, it got demolished.
Yes.
Oh, what a dick. Dump that landlord. No way.
I like to think of it like literally handing the money to the bond cleaner as the bulldozers come.
Yeah.
So over the 2 years, you get your own place and a car, and the sort of vision becomes thing.
It becomes more of a reality.
But there's no platform in the relationship,
there's no
really. There's no real
We don't have many
foundation.
things in common in terms of like our hobbies and stuff. Our rapport is like Clutch is reliant on like running jokes and shared experience rather than just saying humor that is we just find funny because I don't think in the end we found each other very funny.
Which is heartbreaking because that's such a huge foundation of any relationship with me is that I have to find them amusing and I would like them to find me amusing. Like humor is so important to me.
Yep.
So in a big way, I feel like I was definitely a heel, but like it was just like there was not a recipe for success.
So what broke it?
Well, we're living in like a townhouse together that has like this lovely sandstone Sunset Boulevard kind of architecture. And so I called it Sunset. I always name the houses I'm in. So the hole was Needle House because it was opposite the Sky Needle and it looked like a crack house. And this one was Sunset Manor.
Right.
It's Sunset Boulevard, Hollywood.
Yeah.
But also when I moved into it, I had this kind of gut feeling of like, this is going to end in tears, like justifying to myself. It's like, it's okay to start a chapter and it ends as long as you like enjoy the experience of it. It's just that kind of just live in the moment, Matty. Don't worry about like the long run.
That's future Matty's problem.
Yeah. So Matty set up future Matty by naming the place Sunset.
Yeah. Yep.
And it
that in the movie business is what we call foreshadowing, folks.
And there was a very mythological kind of theme to this, like to the street names around here. I'm going to change the mythology to not give away the address.
Yeah, please don't. Can we just say that they were very prophetic sounding street names?
Very. But there's a particular one that I have to like directly reference mythologically wise because it. So there was another. We'll call them Robert. Robert came into the picture. Okay. So we rock climbed in the first like year of our relationship with a big group and we got really into it. But I do things for the adventure of it. And when the adventure of rock climbing just felt like another gym.
Yes, thank you. I'll cut in now. Climbing a rock wall in an air-conditioned gym, like what? That's not an adventure. Get out in the wild and rock. And
it's
climb
training for
rock.
The cliffside rock climbing, which I also did.
Get out,
but
and do
also
it.
You get to like be attached to ropes and
We're
sail down.
tangenting here. This is not. Stop talking about the sports, boys.
I fucking hate rock climbing.
Go back to the relationship.
Analogies.
No. So rock climbing and Robert.
And then Rob. So like a year and a half after we've stopped rock climbing because we're like the group kind of not fell apart but just disbanded. She wanted to start rock climbing again. Supportive. You do your thing. I was doing like my own sports as well. And started climbing with Robert, who is a musician that she sound engineered for. And they got along well, so they became like climbing partners. And started to get that feeling again. Yeah. Not because, again, she has plenty of friends and she had plenty of guy friends and stuff, but every so often one would come along that would do that knock to my gut.
Yeah.
Because the stories would be incomplete and
Yeah.
kind of elusive.
Yep.
And the contact was a lot. This time I was like, I'm going to kind of listen to my gut and just like pay attention to the emotional red flags this time. Because at this point, we had 2 cats, we had the place. I was more invested this time. So I couldn't just I didn't feel like I could just all right, I've caught the red flags again and
I'm out. Yeah,
I'm
no, you've got money.
Fairbanksing out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got money and you got fur children.
So is there a confrontation, or what does that look like?
I resolved to give off ramps and stuff, because what I was pursuing, and I think, and this was wrong of me again. I made a lot of wrong decisions in this, but it's interesting because I think it was a good example of what it is to just try to make a relationship work that you don't believe in. And I think, not to generalize or be sermonize or anything, but a lot of people try just to follow the script and force a relationship to work for the sake of a relationship rather than being with that other person.
I agree.
And so I just wanted the honest word this time. Just say, I'm into this other person. And I think I would like to give that a go. And it's okay, I want you to be happy. I will leave. So I had that conversation a bunch of times.
Where you tried to get her to say...
Yeah, to the point when I was like, if you want to be with Robert, be with Robert. I'll be okay. I can take it kind of thing.
And still no.
Sometimes I get some raw honesty of I'm so confused and stuff. So I knew the confusion was there, and that the inner conflict was definitely there. But no one wanted to make the call. Me being a stubborn fool.
You wanted to be success at boyfriend, therefore you could be also the success at I got dumped.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't me that pulled the pin.
Yeah, exactly. Which is...
It didn't fail because of anything I did, but sometimes you have to be the one that pulls that pin.
Absolutely, and I should have pulled it much earlier, but I was stubborn and I was...
But you did pull it, or...
Eventually. So what happened was these hangouts obviously expanded beyond rock climbing, because they really liked each other. We went hiking together, and their rapport was frankly great. It was really nice to listen to. And I was like, oh, this is what Gwen sounds like when she's having fun with someone. Not just following the script and being surprised. And
spontaneity.
The spontaneity,
this is riffing.
Yeah. And so after that, I had another off-ramp denied. So then it got to a point where she was going to have a full day with Robert. Go climbing in the coffee, climb, go get groceries, come back to our house.
It's a dating day.
A full dating day.
It's a date, yeah.
No, have lunch, get groceries, then go back and cook dinner at our house. And I was at work that whole day. So as I was walking home, hands in my pockets, this gut feeling just radiating through my entire soul, I wonder if my Olympus has fallen. And then I look up, and Olympus Street that we live off is literally fallen down.
Right.
I was like, huh. And so I go and I have my little dinner that they cooked for themselves and for me, which was very nice. And it was
fucking weird, man.
And it was just oh man, this doesn't feel good at all. Can someone call it?
I can feel that tension in the room. I can feel myself.
Somebody just put people out of their misery.
Just cutting into
this is literally the definition of having her cake and eating it too. At this point, she's getting she's having the date, she's having the dinner with the boyfriend in the home. It's shit'll get off the pot, either one of you, honestly.
Yeah. So I think it was a lot. I learned a lot from this, but one big handy thing about this whole journey was trusting my gut. And I learned, because I come from quiet suburbia where we're all very amenable and congenial and never want to cause an inconvenience. This gave me a lot of confidence to be inconvenient, because it'll help.
Be inconvenient. I love that.
Great.
I love it. Be inconvenient.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's it was always going to be inconvenient to break up.
Yeah.
So just do it, and you help yourself and everyone else in the long run.
Yes. So did you do it?
Not at that dinner.
Oh, damn it!
That would have been fun. That would have been a
Okay.
good scene. That would have been cinema. Just
right.
like cutting into my casserole.
I'm done.
So how was your day?
So when did we call it, and how did that happen?
I went to a boot camp in the morning. Oh no, we gave it a week. We had like a week allowance. No, 2 weeks. And I was like, I've had enough, but I want you to be sure that you've had enough and stuff. So I want to know where you're at. And she's like, can you give me 2 weeks or something?
Right.
But we had a party scheduled for right before the end of that 2 weeks, in which Robert was invited, and that really called it. Because it was like this weird, because there was a party on the balcony upstairs that I was holding court at with all of my friends and stuff. And then she was having her party downstairs. It was this massive divide.
I would not like to have been at that party. No,
Yeah,
thank you.
no.
Tom, were you at that party?
I don't believe I was.
No, it was.
Thank God for that.
I preserved a lot of my friends from this party for
Yeah.
good reason. Like one of my best friends from high school lived across the street and stuff, so like they were there and everything. And I found out late after the fact that she held hands with Robert downstairs and stuff. So like that was very much being kind of like allowed, I guess, by that point.
Yeah.
And so I went to boot camp, and she was like, I know it's at the end of the 2 weeks, but let's have a talk. And I didn't feed her lines going into the script theme again, but she was finding it very hard to say it, because I think pushing someone away is a very hard thing for her to do.
And at this point, your relationship is built on repression. I'm sorry, but it
Yeah,
is. Like,
very well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just like,
So you eked it out of her.
yeah, it's like, you don't see a future here, do you? And, shakes her head, and it's all.
It's like you're firing her in a way. Now, do you see yourself in this company in 2 years' time? Yeah, that
Yeah.
kind of fear, where you're kind of leading them to be
Yeah,
fired.
it was a strange feeling knowing where I was at so firmly in that conversation. And
I still
having
can't
made my
believe,
peace with it.
though, Matty, that
Yeah.
you didn't stick up for yourself in this conversation, in terms of you still were trying to get her to make the call,
Yeah,
even though
that's
you
true.
had made the call in your head and in your gut, and you were still,
Yeah.
like,
It's like
And you were so focused on being the winner and winning, but
Yeah.
another dude was having lunch with your dinner with your woman in your house. That's not a winner,
and you were still waiting for her to decide, even though you'd already decided in
Yeah.
your gut.
Yeah.
So very big thing I had to learn on that front of, like, allowing myself. Yeah, but realizing that losing the relationship and knowing your value is not losing being a boyfriend or anything. You can.
So that's a perfect transition into lessons learned, I think, from this.
And walked away and parted ways and moved out, and it ended up being very amicable. And
And this is the thing. This is one lesson that I would like people to take away from this. I mean, I love the way that you put it. Be inconvenient. If something is not working for you, you're doing nobody any favors by sticking it out. You're just drawing out the inevitable and making it death of 1,000 cuts instead of, and it can be amicable, and you can separate effectively. And as you said, just because a chapter ended doesn't mean that the rest of it didn't mean anything. But I really think that if you know in your heart, or if you're not feeling it, don't wait for the other person to also decide they're not feeling it. You've got to end it, because not all breakups are going to be mutual, but you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you are in a relationship that you've got one foot out of just because you don't want to upset somebody else.
Yeah,
absolutely.
right.
And I've been reflecting a lot about how, like, we both made questionable decisions during those years and everything. But from my end, like, from understanding her end, it sucks being in a relationship when the other person's got one foot out the door.
Yeah.
It sucks.
It absolutely fucking sucks. I've been there, and it fucking sucks.
Yeah, and especially because I've reflected on my own social contract, which is a big lesson I think I would like to share. It's like, define your own social contract, not just with your relationships, but with your friends,
And yourself.
Yeah. It's like,
that's
what
number
do you?
one.
Yeah, with yourself, like, where's your boundaries? What do you value in people? What do you expect from people? And
I wrote this down as one of my own lessons, was that you set boundaries before the relationship, but you lost your boundaries during the relationship.
Yes.
And I think that was very important that in trying to play the role of boyfriend, you were so great with setting boundaries when you had rules when you weren't in a relationship, and then all of a sudden when you were trying to be in a relationship, you lost them. So it's important to ensure that you keep boundaries.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll just tack on the lesson learned when you're anytime in a new relationship, in a relationship, or particularly a new relationship, keep tabs on what you're giving up and what you're being asked to give up, because the thing that you give up in order to pursue that relationship may be the shopping list of things that they fell in love, like that they liked in you in the first place.
Absolutely.
So just be cautious.
Yeah,
on
and
those
the
things.
relationship is not the goal in itself. It's being with someone you want to be with and spend time with them, and them wanting to spend time with you.
Don't do the blinkers thing when you're like, okay, I want to get to the altar, or I want to get to the big romantic kiss dip as the sun sets over the fucking horizon. Like, you've got to wake up and choose that person every day.
Yes.
Not, well, I've chosen them now, so let's make this work.
Absolutely. And don't feel like, oh, I've heard their boundaries and I understood them and I've abided by them, but now I feel like I can't abide by that contract anymore. Don't feel like, well, I've already signed it, I'm stuck in this. No.
Every day is a renegotiation.
Every day is a
that
renegotiation.
relationship
That's
contract.
beautiful.
That's right, readers. You don't choose your partner once, you choose them every day. Every day you have to wake up and make that assessment. So there we go. Some
Matty.
lessons learned at a saga of a story. Matthew, thank you for coming on and being honest about yourself, about Gwen, and about the relationship
I think
that
that's
you
the
share.
first time that we've used the dump them button
On the guest.
at the guest.
Oh, yeah. Totally
And I'm
fine.
into it. And we can thank, so Zane's off today. We've got producer Dom in, so we
Yes.
can thank them for that excellent
Inspired
use of the dump them button.
But
because
honestly, everybody at home, please thank Dom Guilfoyle for coming in on short notice. on this
very
recording
short
session.
notice
Woo!
to save the
Thank
day.
you.
So thank you.
May I give a small epilogue to my saga?
You absolutely may.
So, obviously, Robert became a bit of a public enemy number one in my paranoid brain.
Of course.
Ranting, monologuing, Shakespearean into the night. Months and months later, I'd done this big soul-searching journey of like enjoying my own company and meeting the Matty on the other side and getting to practicing the things I wanted to enjoy again and really feeling like myself. So that the next time I met someone awesome, which I did, they would really click with me and I would not feel like I'd have to play the boyfriend.
Yes.
And I'm climbing my tree that I climb every day, and under the tree walks Robert. And I call down to him and I say, if it isn't my old enemy. And he looks up and sees me. He's like, if it isn't my arch nemesis. We have a talk, like me enjoying the high ground for a little bit. And then I invite him up to the tree and we have this beautiful conversation. And I think we left that tree as like good friends. I'm excited to see him again around the grapevine.
You hassled it all out and figured it out.
Yeah,
Producer Dom has pulled down the microphone.
So somehow, at the end of all of this, you somehow managed to turn this whole thing into Inigo Montoya and,
Yes,
and Wesley.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right there
You
at the
killed
end.
my relationship.
Yeah.
Prepare to die.
Exactly. There we go. Friends
Dom, my
apart.
friend, you're damn right.
Gee whiz. So, ladies, gentlemen, all and sundry at home, thank you for joining us on another episode of Ghosts of Boatman's Past. We thank Matthew for coming on once again. Elizabeth Best, what a roller coaster.
What a roller coaster.
The scrapes and bumps we
I
find
enjoyed
ourselves
that,
in.
but like not in a, I enjoy your pain, but it was nice hearing a story that I knew nothing about. If you'd like to be a guest, you can go to that'snotcanon.com/Ghosts of Boyfriends Past, or just drop us a message. If you want to drop us a message, we check our inbox on Facebook and on Instagram very regularly.
If it's
so
in response to a question we've had asked on the
If
show,
you've got
if you've got
advice.
advice, please yes and us. We're only so good in this podcast. Otherwise, rate and review the show. If
please, and share.
Yes, share it. Someone will get a little bit of help out of this. It's not just pointing and laughing at other people. We try and get advice and good things out of it too. The last thing I'll do is thank you all for listening. That means the most to us out of everything. Thousands of you tune in every week to listen to us, and that means the world to Elizabeth and I.
Absolutely does. And I'd like to end on one final note. Guys, be inconvenient. I can't love that enough. Be inconvenient.